Welcome to Conversations with Cubit. Thank you for joining me tonight. And before we get started, I gotta tell you how much I appreciate all the love we get week after week after week supporting these weekly conversations. As long as you continue to find value in these conversations, we're just gonna keep right on having these conversations. So if you're looking for information, if you're looking for inspiration or hope, you have landed in the right place. I also have to give a great big congratulations to you. Congratulations to this entire community because you just got two amazing leaders appointed to the Oklahoma County Jail Trust. Yes, you now have Pastor Derek Scobie and Adam Luck now stepping up yet again to serve all of us. So a great big thank you to them and congratulations to us. We got some winners here on this one, folks. Okay, tonight is special. This could be the most inspiring conversation we have ever had on the show. I'm about to introduce you to someone who is impacting our city in very powerful but subtle ways. Almost all of the significant influencers in Oklahoma City know him, but they may not know his story, and all of that changes tonight. Now, if you are new to these conversations, welcome to the family. Yes, we consider you family. Be sure to check out some of our past conversations on my YouTube channel. Just look up Conversations with Cubit on YouTube. And once you find that page, please subscribe and hit the like button. After that, check out any of our past conversations. You will not be disappointed. But right now, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share tonight's conversation. That's right. Don't keep this conversation to yourself, especially if you know individuals who might be struggling day to day to find purpose and hope. You have to share this conversation. Just do this right now. Hit the share button right this second. Okay. So once again, I got to send a very special thank you and a very special shout out to my friends, Richard and Amy James, for hosting our weekly conversations out at Green Pasture Studios. The studio is out in Spencer, Oklahoma, and it is actually a full-fledged movie production studio. They do so much out there, including a movie production and film academy. Please go online and look up Green Pasture Studios for more information. As you can see, tonight, we're not in the studio. We are actually at the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church, where the none other Pastor Derek Scobie is the pastor. Ebenezer is located in Northeast Oklahoma City near the corner of Northeast 36th and Kelly. And you will find out why we decided to broadcast from here shortly. But I want to encourage you to figure out more about all the ways to get involved with all the great things Ebenezer is doing in our community. For those of you who may be new to these conversations, let me tell you my three simple goals for these conversations. They are simple. One, add value to people in my community. I just want to add value to people in my community. Two, I want to inspire you to believe what people and communities become when we're all willing to work together. And three, last but not least, love people. All this means is I want you to be inspired. I want you to get useful information and resources, and I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation here on Conversations with Cubit will be about information, inspiration, and hope. My guest tonight is none other than Cam Cox. Everyone in this city simply calls him Cam. Cam, and he comes running. I have gotten to know Cam over the past few years, even though I've seen him and known him for many, many years. It's really hard to miss Cam if you're involved in community service events at all, because he is very much involved in much of the behind the scenes work that you see around town. Cam owns and operates transitional living facilities. He started his career in local television and radio. And during his time in local television and radio, he has won many awards for broadcasting. He actually was one of the first reporter on the scene of the bombing downtown at the Morrow Federal Building on April 19, 1995. Cam's personal story involves a struggle with chemical dependency, which ultimately led to a battle with the legal system and financial troubles. Cam spent most of his 40s in federal prison, but on his 50th birthday, his life changed. In fact, Cam says this: life for him started when he turned 50. The truth is, Conversations with Cubit would have long ended if it was not for Cam taking a personal interest in me and the work I was attempting to do. Folks, I'm super honored that Cam is here with me each week helping broadcast this show, and I'm even more honored that he is here with me today to share his personal story. Folks, help me welcome my brother, Cam Cox, to the guest seat of Conversations with Cubit. You're here, man.
Thank you, Wayland. It's not just anybody I would sit down and do this with. I'm proud to do it with you.
No reason to thank me. I got to thank you because you see all of these great views. Our partner, Barry, you're even training my grandson on how to do this kind of stuff. You and Barry are. So if a debt of gratitude is what I owe you. And I don't know how much a check costs, but I don't have a checkbook big enough to put enough zeros behind it. So thank you so much for all that you do. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
Shout outs. Right now, before we get started, who do you want to shout out? I'm getting you in trouble. I know.
That's not an easy one.
I know.
You know who I'll gain lots of reward for doing this. Let's say hi to Donna Thompson.
Donna Thompson. I knew you were. So I was hoping if you didn't say Donna Thompson. She's such a big fan of yours. She's a huge supporter of this everything community, and I'm telling you, she loves you, and she's always on supporting these conversations. And she supports you behind the scenes too.
I support Donna too, and it's people like Donna, it's people like you that are why I do what I do. You know, I believe in what you're doing. I believe in your cause, and if I can just piggyback on that and help push it along a little bit, I'm accomplishing mine.
Well, you got a lot of energy, and you keep it going. I only have one. I have to tell people this. I only have one story about Cam where I was about to kick his butt.
Well,
only one.
You have fewer than most.
Only one. We were supposed to. We had a show taped. That we wanted to go live at a particular time, and Cam said, "I got it. I'm going to hit the button,
with
play
the
button."
mayor.
It was with the mayor. Yeah, it was with the mayor. It was a big show.
It
was a big show. We were with the mayor, and the time came, and Cam is very consistent, very, very consistent. And this particular time, I called. I was calling Barry. I was calling Pastor Scobie. I could not get in touch with Cam well after broadcast time. So I went to Cam's house, pistol in hand.
I saw it at one point.
And the car was there. The dogs were barking. I'm like, what happened? And so I was about ready to kick the door when he answered the door. And I, Cam, damn it. He just fell asleep.
We're in church.
Well, yeah, that's what happened. So anyway, he real fun guy to be around. It's lighthearted, but really takes care of business. And so I wanted to get a chance to share your story. I know you have one. So before we get started, we all kind of know you, but we don't know a whole lot about you. You don't just run around telling your story on your sleeve. So give us a little bit of the Cam story. Who are you? Where you come from? And that whole thing. How'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Bethany. I went from kindergarten to even a couple of years of college, all in about that 2-block radius over there off 39.
Yeah, way out west.
Way out west. What, about 4 miles?
Yeah,
from
4
here?
miles.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then really we had Yukon. That was 6 more miles away. Mm-hmm. So I was very rural out there. But no, I grew up in Bethany. My family was pretty prominent in that small environment there. I think my granddad was school board president for 20-something years, and so was my dad after him. And so I ran roughshod over all the teachers and principals in school and everything. And I was pretty spoiled. I was privileged. I had a couple of new Corvettes in high school, and I didn't know any different. I was a product of my environment, and I was really kind of a jerk, I think, for a lot of that time, because I was just a spoiled, rotten kid. And I had everything just handed to me until I had to go out on my own, whenever that was, in my early 20s or stuff.
Yeah.
And then it became a struggle on and off. And I was always the one slipping off to the bar and drinking too much and experimenting with drugs and just the things that go along with addiction. I was in the early stages of that back then. And so, excuse me. So I was headed for a derailment that maybe I didn't recognize for a long time. Right. And so anyway, it escalated into my adulthood. And
how'd you end up in TV and radio?
So I had a mentor of sorts as a kid. when I was like 12, 13 years old. I got a job at a radio station because of a Sunday school teacher of mine that got me into it. And then I just kind of climbed the ranks there. First I started doing traffic at WKY when the Gaylords owned it, and I couldn't tell anybody, but I was only 15 years old, and you had to be 16 to get a driver's license, and I was out zooming around in a little Chevy Citation Roadwatch 93 doing traffic reports every day.
Oh my goodness, wow.
And that was just kind of indicative. I was just kind of always pushing the clock and ahead of what I should have been doing at any given time.
Yeah, so you got in radio, you did that. I'm going to move a little bit, and I might be moving into your story a little bit, but I think it's pretty obvious. What's the elephant in the room is I see you're from Bethany, and I haven't seen you do, I know you do a lot of work, but most of the work I've seen you do is on the east side of Oklahoma City.
That's true.
That's where all of my engagement with you has been over the years, is on the east side. And you are a member of this historic church.
I am a proud baptized member of the Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Proud.
Amen.
And I don't know if I've been here. I have family here, but I haven't been here when I haven't seen you here. So, I mean, you're always here. Tell me how a white guy, the significance of a white guy in a predominantly black community, and you live on the east side, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah,
just a few blocks from here.
Right. You live on the east side. And so a white guy in a predominantly black community in a historic black church, that's not common. Talk about that.
You're going to start with that question.
Our
first question.
Yeah.
Why do I hang out with black people so much? Okay. No, there's an answer. There's an answer for that. It's and it is awkward sometimes. I think it's kind of like I was telling you before the show. Some of the people that I grew up with in Bethany, they think it's awkward that I went off to federal prison for a few years and that I got into the trouble that I did. And so when I go back around them, it's a little awkward. Well, being the only white guy in the all-black church and community, although we do have another white member, I'm proud to announce.
Oh, yeah.
He just joined the church recently. But no, I'm stumbling around a lot because it's hard for me to put into words the love and acceptance and open arms that I've received in the community at large. That's Ebenezer. That's where I live here, and it's not something I predicted. You know, I grew up in Bethany. I think we had one or two black guys in high school the whole time. One of them had African parents from Swaziland, so he wasn't like most black people I even knew. You know?
Right.
But it's just the love and the acceptance and the amount of support that I get in this community that I'm not used to, and that's awkward for me to say. So thanks for hearing me out on that.
Yeah, no, I think it's obvious that you feel at home. You know, and people feel like you have to do certain things to be a part of a different community than yours. And what's so obvious is that you're not doing anything different besides just being yourself. And so acceptance is a key part of a community, allowing someone to be who they are and share their gifts where they are. Yeah.
And I don't think my conservative Nazarene friends in Bethany rejected me and were pushing me out or anything like that. They just weren't used to seeing somebody who had been on vacation for 10 years.
Right.
And I get over here and it's a little more common occurrence.
Yeah.
And people relate to my experience and what I've been through.
We talked about that. Is because you come to a community that has dealt with some scars from the criminal legal system, right? And so it was less judgment. It was kind of a restorative kind of community. Like, we know what you did, but it doesn't matter. We know what you need to do, right?
Exactly.
Kind of a feeling. And not only that, is the church always talks about redemption, right?
And it all started with the church, yeah.
And it all started with the church. And so I know we'll get into that. I have a question here. I got to ask you about the private jet and Michael Jackson concert story.
Oh, Lord. Well, that was part of that privileged youth I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That would have been the Thriller tour. What year would that have been? I'm trying to think. High school, you know.
Thriller tour, so that would have been 85?
Okay, so right out of
I'm
high
guessing.
school, yeah.
85. You know who will know exactly is Derek Scobie. He's good with years. I don't know what it is. So text me what the year was.
Yeah, he'll tell you the month of the concert in Dallas.
Yeah.
But again, I think my family had dabbled in the oil business a little bit at the same time they were building business and developing land, and we had some excess money, and so I took about I don't know, 6 or 8. I remember of my closest friends and rented a Learjet and went down to flew down to Dallas and rented a limo and a police escort and had them escort us to our seats. I was
17, 18?
85. I was 20 years old. So,
oh gosh.
I was probably just under 20.
Oh
like
man.
this.
Yeah.
And no perception whatsoever for the realities of life, and just out of control. And I guarantee you it was a drug and alcohol filled weekend of chaos. But
chaos. Yeah. I wanted to be there, but I don't want the hangover, I guess. No, I want the story. So let's talk about that. So I know there was a journey to getting to this black church and to this black side of town. And that journey started with the drinking, like you said, and maybe the partying, but it passed through federal prison. Talk about that. How'd you end up there?
Well, hard drugs got me there. In sometime in my 30s, I had some medium-sized successes. I was doing morning radio at the Cat, and I was building some houses at the time, and not making any big waves, but just kind of finding my way in the world. And I had some few medium-sized successes, and then the bombing came along. And then my drinking and drug use increased, and life just kind of spiraled downhill for me.
Did you connect that drinking and driving to the trauma of the bombing?
At first I did, and then I think it became an excuse. Yeah, that was a horrible thing to see in our city that I'd grown up in, and you were downtown for some of that. I know.
Yeah.
So it was a horrible thing to see, but I don't think I can use that as an excuse for why I completely derailed. That was just one of a number of things. In my drug use, I got just way behind on my business the way I should have been covering it. I had many houses under construction at the time, and when that goes upside down, I'm selling off assets to try and survive another however long. I'm trying to keep my drug habit supplied, and then I go to some pretty desperate lengths to keep the funding coming in, and I did some bank fraud stuff.
Bank fraud? Yeah, white collar stuff.
It's still stealing to get dope,
Right.
It's not putting a gun in somebody's head, but it isn't any better.
Tell me how you got caught. How did it come down? Because Derek Scobie always talks about when the feds were looking at when he knew
moved into the jewelry store.
Yeah, he knew that. So that feeling you can feel when he tells the story, you can feel the anxiety that he was going through personally.
Well, my personal experience is they really kind of tell you they're on to you, and they give you an opportunity to act right for a minute anyway, it appears, but I was just so far out there, I just kept going full steam ahead. I was, the first time, and unfortunately I had 2 rounds of federal prosecution, but the first time it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I was passed out in the front seat of my own car. Somebody else drove through the drive-through at McDonald's, driving my car, and reached into the glove compartment to get money to pay for it, and used a $10 bill that was unfortunately just printed on one side, and the other side was, So, and handed it to the clerk, and the Moore Police Department took me in, and I got to meet some gentlemen from the Secret Service that night, and they came to my house and took it apart.
What year was that?
I spent, my second case was 08. I think that was about 05, 06, somewhere in there. And I'm horrible with dates, but I think that's pretty early 2000s.
Would it shock you that I remember a similar case?
No, that wouldn't shock
me. It wasn't me. But you would have read my name on your documents because you've looked at all your documents. So it wasn't me.
I don't know if I've seen your name on newsroom walls. But I'm not sure I've seen it in my paperwork.
Okay, well, I had a very similar occurrence, but I don't think it was Moore. I think it was in Oklahoma City. But anyway.
Well, and just to run on that a little bit, it amazed me once that I was caught and apprehended and got into that system, how many knuckleheads like me there are out there that just follow the same course. They're getting their meth, they're getting their dope, they go out and they do stupid crime that gets caught, and then
they
do 2 or 3 years in federal prison, and then they're back to whatever. I mean,
Was it the counterfeit that was the federal charge, or was it other things?
No, that time was counterfeit.
Uh-huh.
And so I think I got a 2-year sentence for that. And after, all the months and months of pretrial and everything that they do there. And that was just a huge battle with, they supervise you for a year or two. And I was still wanting to do drugs. And I was still wanting to live life the way I had been living it. But no, I had this, at many points I had a bracelet on my ankle or whatever else they did to try and enforce compliance. And, I was fighting it the whole way.
How was I'm curious of, back in Bethany, your family, your prominent family, how was that dealt with? Because a lot of times you see families of prominence get behind their kid and put a whole lot of might and financial resources behind to kind of soften the consequence. How was it received to your family?
In the federal system, there are very few people that financial resources make a dang bit of difference. when the full force and power of the United States government comes down on you, there really aren't any private attorneys. You deal with the public defender system in the feds, which is also well funded, as you know. But there's really not an opportunity to throw a lot of money at it. They had all of their influential friends writing letters and calling attorneys that they thought might have some influence or could help or whatever, and they were always very supportive. It wasn't. Couldn't fight that one too well.
Right. And then take us to the second time.
So I went to prison for a couple of years, and I think it was literally 24 months the first time. And I came out and I hadn't learned anything other than some more and sophisticated ways to steal money and to acquire dope and to do the two together. And so I came out on supervision, but I did not slow my drug use. You wonder why the United States Probation Office got so upset with me over this time. I'm sure I was not a joy to supervise, because I came out of prison and I just went right back to where I was before. And I knew a few little ways I could sneak and I could get prescriptions for drugs that I could do off the streets. And, and I thought I was beating them there for a while. Yeah. And that's an entity you don't beat. They will step it up every time and they'll win. And so I went back to prison. I wasn't out for a year.
And this was for violation of the probation stuff?
Not at this particular time. It was for a new crime. I did go back a third time on a probation violation. But I took what I learned in prison on how to get like routing numbers and transit numbers and do some bank ACH stuff. I thought I had found a way to beat the system again. And of course I was high on drugs the whole time and very confident in my logic, and it didn't play out so well. And so I went back, did a second term, and then got out again, and it really finally felt like I had been licked. I felt like, I'm done. I'm getting old. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do time anymore. This is not the way I want to live, and I'm going to be stuck in this system forever. And so I got out. I was able to buy a house right over here on Kellum Street, and I was going to make that into a sober living facility because I had seen the rigmarole people had to go through when they came from the halfway house and back to the community and stuff. So I buy this house, and I have this young, over-aggressive girl probation officer who writes up a violation for me doing a financial transaction without having her permission. And so I bought this house and I'm back in prison for the violation. And so I think, when does this ever end? And so the third time after I got out, which was my 08 case, I think I got out around 13 or something. I finally got out on just plain supervision and decided I've got to act right. I can't beat these people anymore.
So here is what we call in let's just say the black church. This is the shouting part of the story, right? This is the shouting part of the story. This is where transition happens. This is when a transformative moment happens. You talk about your 50th birthday. Yeah. Take us to this moment where you decide that 50 is where my life starts.
Well, I think what sparked that is one of the federal judges, Tim DeGiusti. He said to me in a courtroom, he said, "You have a lot less days in front of you than you have behind you." And that was a very profound thing. I mean, that's very obvious. Duh, I'm 50 years old. I'm not. But for some reason, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm going to get this thing right, then I got to start doing things completely differently. And so I started making the conscious decision to do the next thing right. And I was screwing things up left and right, but I was plowing my way through.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in that window, a guy named Derek Scobie, a pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. I think I had sent him a friend request on Facebook, just because I was trying, and I did that for a lot of people. I was trying to build a new community of people over here on the northeast side, because I liked where I was. I wanted to get in the community, and so I connected with Pastor Scobie, and he sends me this long direct message. Talking about how he used to listen to me on the radio in the 80s, and when there were no black stations, and when KAEZ went off the air.
Yeah.
And I mean, he knew the music I was playing. He knew me by name, and I was like, wow. And you just kind of have to stop and think. I had been locked up for 10 years. I had tried to go back to my old community where people weren't sure how to treat me. And then here was this total stranger who was making me feel like I was a superstar again, like I was special. Like, wow, he does remember me. And my old people were going, yeah, he did that, but then he really screwed up after that.
Right.
Pastor Scobie welcomed me with open arms. He told me about some of his objectives he was trying to accomplish with social media and reaching the people. He hadn't been here long himself. He told me his personal story, and I connected with the church. That's been 6 or 7 years ago now.
Right.
And I said a baptized member. That was the first thing I did, because I wanted to. I had grown up in the Nazarene church, and I had never been baptized before.
Right.
And
right.
How that happened,
at 50 years old.
At 50 years old.
Right.
And so I came to Ebenezer. Pastor Scobie baptized me, and the people. I wasn't going there. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I connected with here, including Pastor Scobie. They didn't care how long I'd been in prison. They didn't care what I had done. They didn't care all the people that I had hurt and the mess that I had made behind me.
Right.
They just wanted to watch me get better and watch me improve, and have offered me love and support like I've never had before since. And
right.
so,
my friend Les Thomas, who is a phenomenal speaker, he said in one of his talks as we were working with young people, and I think you heard him say it when we had him on the show. He said, yeah, I did what they said I did, but I'm not who they say I am, right? And the cool thing about the story that you said about this church and Derek Scobie is they treated you as the person they knew you could become, not who the person you had been.
That's
right?
true.
Right?
That's
right?
true. And wanted nothing but the best for me.
Right.
Any improvement I made, they wanted to see. I mean, I was a mess when I connected with Scobie, but he has been a faithful, consistent friend that overlooks my mess.
Right. How did you get sober? Was it this relationship in this church? Was it a professional? Was it counseling? Was it AA? How did you do it?
It was not the typical way, and it was not the 12-step or the AA sort of thing. It was after my final time in prison. I did not touch any drugs after the last time they locked me up.
Right.
I said, this is ridiculous. And I never really did any drugs while I was incarcerated. You hear stories about drugs in prison, but I really didn't even see any in the Fed. So once I had that last period of confinement, then again, it was a choice, just like it was the first time I got out. The minute I hit the streets, I could go grab a sack of dope if I wanted to. But it was a choice that last time. It kind of, the past 50 more days behind me than in front of me, that it was just a head decision at the time. I said, no more. I can't do this anymore.
I want to be able to. I want to say, and I want to caution people for doing this. Derek Scobie is yes a hero, and I know that we want to quickly say, man, Scobie's the hero of this story. But I want to hit pause right there, and I want to say, Cam, there's a couple of heroes in this story, and I don't want to miss the fact that you are the hero of your story, right? You made some decisions.
You saying this, but let me tell you something. Derek Scobie has told me since the day I met him, and he's the first one to say, "Let the redeemed of the Lord say so." And
right.
But everything we do, because what makes this work is God.
Is God. The other hero is Jesus, right?
That's
okay. I didn't want to miss that. But so there's a couple of heroes in the story. I know we're gonna say our Lord is a hero, and I know we're gonna say Derek Scobie is a hero. But I don't want to miss the fact that you had a play in your own story, right? Sometimes we are who we're looking for, right? And you found it, right? You might have had some help from the Lord, and you had some help from Scobie, but I don't want you to miss the fact that I see the hero in you too, and all the work you're doing absolutely proves that you're a strong and capable person, and you serve it every day. Tell me about, so there's so much thing, tell us all the stuff you got your hands in and all the things that you're pushing and the things you're elevating. Give us a little snapshot of all the stuff that we see that you got a little DNA on.
Well, what I try and do these days is show up every day and do what I think the Lord puts in front of me to do. And there's a lot of it. It was the jail trust this week.
Okay, yes.
It's always, numerous political campaigns and that sort of thing, but it's also the prison ministry. Barry and I have a job going on over at Pastor Morgan's church, putting in new monitors for the Church of the Living God. They're getting new screens and stuff like we have here, and Barry and I are doing that for them. I'm always working with Donna and what she's going on in the prison ministry. This is National Voters Month, so we're working with one of your mentors, George Young, getting all of the voting registration messages out there. And just anything that is positive, that builds up the community and makes the world a little better place. That I have the privilege to get involved in and to promote. I'll put my hands in it.
Yeah. How do we support you? Like, I mean, I don't ever see you on a website. You got a Facebook, but how do we support you? How does the community support Cam?
I'm supported very well by the church and the activities that go along with that. I mean, the church, well, they do pay me some, but that's, it's mainly just getting behind what I'm out there promoting. That's a reward to me. I mean, we do your show, and of course, if anybody has any kind of video teleconferencing or live streaming or that sort of thing, we're certainly equipped to work with them on that, and that's great support. But we stay pretty busy just pushing, what's on the calendar already.
Right. I want to go on record and say, paying, right? Service is fun and it's offered, but it ain't free all the time, right? So I mean, reward demand.
It's funny how that works. I don't know how. It's God and nothing else, but that's not the first motive. I go out and I choose what I want to do, and I get involved with what I want to get involved with, and the right people come along, and I do get paid.
Yeah,
and I
right.
do get paid care of, and it's a synergy that I don't get, but it works.
Yeah, people. When Cam and Barry and I started together doing the show, we never discussed money. We discussed quality. We discussed who should we be lifting up? Who should we be amplifying? What stories do we need to tell? What stories that people need to know about? And Cam continues to highlight people in places that we need to highlight. So I appreciate you, brother, so much. And I say brother not as bro in the lingo. I say brother as blood in my heart.
I feel it, Wayland.
Thank you so much for doing it so much. This is Conversations with Cubit. Thank you so much to Derek Scobie for allowing us to use his fabulous church as our backdrop today. And thank you so much to Adam Luck and Pastor Scobie for stepping up and joining accepting the call to the jail trust. Y'all got a lot of work to do. Thanks, Cam. We'll see you next week.